Good evening, everybody. My name is Gadiel Navarrete, and today we will be doing our research design presentation for POS 301. Let's get to it. So, the original study that I focused on was Immigration Enforcement and the Redistribution of Political Trust by Rene Roca in 2015. Now, the purpose of this study was to research the ways that immigration enforcement and the laws influence the political trust among native and non-native born Latinos and other populations, such as the whites and blacks. Now, the study was conducted in the summer of 2012 in Texas by conducting a 4-question survey through random digit dialing. Texas was chosen mainly due by having the third largest immigrant population at the time, as well as having heavy ICE activity. The conclusion of this study actually saw that Anglos trust more the government when there is more heavy ICE presence compared to Latinos, where they actually distrusted the government more, and they actually held more unfavorable views towards the government compared to Anglos and other populations. So why does this study matter? Well, according to the Census Bureau, in 2020, the Hispanic and Latino population made up almost 20% of the total U.S. population, meaning that around 66.4 million Latinos are currently living in the United States. Are there any gaps or any problems with the study that was currently done? Well, yes, not just with this one though. Past research with short surveys have often neglected the diversity of what that individual thinks. So for example, what a Latino from Texas thinks may not be the same as what one thinks in California or in Florida. Oftentimes, Latinos and their trust mainly derive from educational levels, social spheres, and residence, as well as other factors. Voting patterns are also neglected as well. They can be used to provide further insight on when Latinos favor the current political institutions or when they do not. So what is my proposed research design? Well, the design that I would propose would be the independent variable, which be how heavy immigration is enforced. The dependent variable would be the political trust that Latinos put in the institutions of government. And my hypothesis would be, if the government enforces immigration heavily, the Latino voter will vote against said government and replace it with a more pro-immigrant cabinet. So the study would actually consist of 2 parts. So the first part would be us studying the voting patterns from 2012, 2016, and 2020, the presidential elections being that is. According to the U.S. Census, it is reported that 59% of eligible Latinos voted in 2020, compared to the 49% in 2016 and the 10% in 2012. Why did they vote like that? That is one of the questions that we will be asking. Why from 2012 only 10% voted compared to the staggering amount that almost 60% of eligible Latinos voted in that election? Now, the second part of the study will consist of in-person interviews with respondents who will be granted anonymity. We will be asking a series of questions regarding what they look for when electing candidates, whether their immigration stances influence the way that they vote in elections. So some of the questions that I plan to ask these respondents will be starting with number 1. What do you look for in a candidate when you are voting? Number 2, do their stances on immigration affect how you vote? Number 3, if the government is pro-immigration, do you trust it more? Yes or no? 4, does immigration enforcement in your state affect how you view the institutions of power? And lastly, did you vote in the past presidential elections? Yes or no? That last question is mainly used to correlate with the first part of the study, in which we analyze the voting patterns. And that is something that we'll try to get out of this second half of the study to see how we can balance out. Now, the hopes of that last questions is to see if we can get an accurate or almost a smaller version of the actual voting patterns from past presidential elections. And that's mainly the research design. Okay, so thank you all for watching my video. I really hope that this provided some interesting insight. And we will be seeing you in the future.